Welcome to Real Estate Radio Live, an informative and engaging podcast discussing everything you need to know about the world of real estate. Your host, Joe Caccera, provides you with insight and guidance on how to buy, sell, finance, and invest in real estate. He also offers real estate tax management strategies, new construction advice, home improvement tips, and much, much more. And now, to guide you around the world of real estate, here's your host and Real Estate Radio Live team leader, Joe Caccera.
Welcome in, Joe Caccera with Real Estate Radio Live, the podcast series as we continue through the week. Thank you again for tuning in and joining us. We really appreciate the growth of podcasts. We are growing each and every day and every week, and we want to thank you, the listeners, for not only participating but passing this information along. Before we get started, I'll invite my guest in just a minute or so. Just a reminder, if you're out there and you're in need of financing, maybe you're looking at a purchase or refinance, or in many cases you need an expert, anything around real estate. Remember, we're a resource for you here. We've been doing this for 7 years. We have a great team of people. If you need a realtor, financial planner, maybe some tax advice, legal advice, contractor, designer, whatever, we're here to help you with those referrals. Make sure you get the right people and help you make those right decisions, or hopefully the best wise decisions in and around your real estate. You can reach me either text or phone at 408-838-9060. You could always email joe at reradiolive.com. All right, let me jump in here. Most of you know, if you've been following the show for over 7 years, our focus is really the primary objective is education and information. So what we want to do and we want to continue to do is bring you, the consumer, as much information as education as we can. And most of it's around real estate, but a lot of it's around money too, because money, financing, investing, really how you manage your money goes lockstep in what you do in life in terms of your real estate investments or anything you really do. In other words, you can't really afford or you can't enjoy some of the benefits of life, let's face it, unless you learn how to manage money and do it well. So our expert today, Damion Lupo, he's a financial transformation expert and also CEO and founder of the Total Control Financial. Damion, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, Joe, it's good to be here. Thanks for having me here, my friend.
Yeah, a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to this interview. I am a big fan. On a small level, I somehow, some way, thank God, I was about 26, 27 years old when a couple of people that I was hanging around, and older gentlemen that were pretty good investors, they would just, some of the simple things, they said, Joe, just whatever you do, save at least 10% of whatever you make and just look for investment opportunities in different ways and keep learning. That was one of their big, one of their big things, Damion, was their suggestion to me was just keep reading, keep learning, keep understanding, have a better understanding of money and investments. And so I was fairly fortunate that I started saving and investing fairly early, and I stuck to some of those principles. So tell us a little, before we get started, tell us a little bit about your background and then your current roles and responsibilities today with what you're doing as a CEO.
Cool, yeah. My background is pretty anti-traditional. It started off traditional, but it didn't work. It was, went off and did the normal, go to college, and then got thrown out of college because I started a business in my dorm room. And it wasn't the Michael Dell story. I wish it was, but I started a bookstore in one of my colleges.
Interesting.
And yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was kind of funny because I got really annoyed, and this is the thing that people can really grab onto, that if you see a problem in the market, something that frustrates you, you're probably not the only one. And in college, the thing that frustrated everybody is that we bought these books for $100 and then we sold them back for $50, and then our next door neighbor bought them for $75, and we're like, this sucks. We're just getting screwed by the bookstore, and they're sitting there making all this money. So I thought I can fix that, and I can make some money at the same time, and I ended up squeezing the margin. And within a week, they literally felt the impact of this little business I was running out of my room. And I got called in by the chancellor, and he said, you have to stop this. The bookstore is going out of business. And I said, that's not a bad thing for the students. That's just bad for them. He said, yeah, but we want them here. And I said, well, I'm not going to shut it down. It's paying for school. And he said, then we're throwing you out. And I quickly finished up business, paid for school that week, and left, realized that was not my path. And I realized if I can find other problems to solve, I'm going to end up doing really well, and I'll have a place in society. So it's not just about making money; it's about solving a problem.
Yeah.
And that was the first pop for me.
That's great. No, I love those. I love those stories, and I would agree with you. That's a great, the comment that you just made. I don't want those to miss it. I'll repeat it again. If you're seeing something in the marketplace, a product or service or something that you're, on a fairly regular basis, you're frustrated with, you're thinking, because that's something I've always been tuned in my entire life. I'll be standing somewhere, I don't care if it's a line or something, going, why in the world are we still doing things this way?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense. So it's good. I'm glad you brought that up. So one of the things which is really because of the information age, Damion, as you know, things are coming at people 100 miles an hour. There's online, there's TV, there's radio, there's podcasts, on and on. So with all these options, maybe the first thing would be, what's your recommendation? What should people invest in? Because admittedly, right, we're getting hit from every conceivable angle.
Well, the thing that people are doing right now is exactly what they should be investing in, and that is they should be investing in growing themselves. And it's kind of cliche, okay. But the truth is, when somebody says, should I invest in an apartment or a house or gold or a business, like what should I say, go invest in you, grow you, and you'll build the confidence to go figure that out on your own. You don't need a guru to tell you what to invest in. And it's the harder work than just having somebody tell us what to do. But that's what we've all been really pushed on by Wall Street and by really financial advisors in general, where they're supposed to be smarter than we are. I don't believe that. I think they're supposed to be there to be sounding boards and give us ideas, but ultimately we're supposed to be smart enough, and we have to train ourselves to become smart enough, and then we've got the confidence, and that's where the financial freedom rests. It lies in that confidence, not in a pile of cash. We really have to get that. It's not about building up a pile and then you're done and you're good. You're not good. You'll be scared to death if you don't have the confidence. We have to get the confidence. So that's what we're doing right now. We're sharing ideas, and people are investing their time to transform themselves, which is it's what I'm all about, the transformation. And it takes time and energy doing that because you're rewiring yourself. It's called neuroplasticity. You're rewiring your brain.
I love it. Now, this is good. And I tell you, most people we have on, and this is really good, I'm glad we got a chance to chat, is that, and there's nothing wrong with it. People are either selling a product or a service, or they've been successful and they've done a number of different things. But you're suggesting that before you look at any of these things, or investment opportunities, or get rich quick, or real estate, or not, it doesn't matter what it is, stocks, invest in yourself. Try to become the smartest, best, kind of well-educated person you can, and then that will help you gain the confidence to make some of these decisions, and you'll have a better chance to succeed.
That's it exactly. And Joe, there's a book called Mastery that I study. It's by a guy named George Leonard, and he's a martial artist just like me, and it's really applicable to all of us because the process of growing, it's not an event where you get to, like, you don't become a black belt and then you're done. You become a black belt, and that's part of this lifelong mastery. Just like when we're growing, we're learning and we're getting better. And the moment we think we're done, or that we turn over, we abdicate responsibility, is the moment we become a victim. And that's where we lose control of our lives. So you really have to go into everything with total responsibility around whatever it is you're doing and say, I'm going to invest. I'm going to learn. It's up to me. There's no justifying anything. There's no blaming anybody else. It's all about me. I'm making the choices. And when you do that, you really shift the energy, and all of a sudden all the power is in your hands. That's what changes everything. Very good. So tell us a little bit about why you won't do deals with guys in their 20s. What's that all about? Well, one of the best things about getting older is you've been through a lot of pain, and there's this experience of what you're going to do in situations. And are you going to just curl up in the fetal position and suck your thumb? I actually had that happen with a friend of mine in Asia. We couldn't get a hotel in Cambodia, and we were stuck in Kuala Lumpur, both sick. And he just basically said, I can't get them to get me a hotel. And he just stopped, and he quit. And I looked at him, and he was in his 20s, and I thought, I would never invest with you. You're a disaster. You're just going to put the ball back to me and say it doesn't work. Like, hey, dude, don't hand it back to me. And with people in their 20s, one of my favorite people in the world that works with me is in his early 20s, and he's awesome. And he's still growing. I know what it's like to be in our 20s. And there's this unknown, because there's a lot of squirrels out there to chase. And that's one of the things I don't know. Are you going to chase the next squirrel, or are you going to focus on this squirrel? So I'm really leery before somebody has some type of track record. And so I want to see them do something. I want to see them go mess up. I want to see them bankrupt. I want to see them lose money. I want to see something. I don't want to be their learning lesson. You know what I mean? That's really important for me and who I invest with.
Yeah, that's a great point. And one of the things that I've seen a lot too, what I appreciate is people who at least try, or that whole word fail, right? It's just a learning lesson in terms of, to me, when someone says, "God, I went through this, I did this, Joe, and it didn't work out," well, my most of my first comments is, "Congratulations, you made the decision, you took that step, you followed something through. Now, maybe the outcome wasn't what you wanted, but you got to congratulate someone for taking that step, making the decision to do it, because so many people, Damion, you probably see this too. They just get paralyzed and they don't make any decision."
That's exactly it. People are afraid of that elusive that thing called failure. And why is that? Because we're trained our entire lives to be A students, to not make mistakes. The mistakes are bad. Yep. And that's the stupidest thing ever. It's why I'm so against our traditional education model, because it treats us to be cogs that are perfect, and that's not the real world. You only truly learn at a DNA cellular level by making the mistakes and going, it's the universe giving us this great gift that's wrapped up in all this mess. And we want those. In fact, there's this idea that the faster we fail, the faster we grow, and the more we're going to evolve, and the more success and fulfillment we're going to have. So instead of trying to avoid failure, find failure faster. That'll change everything too. Yeah,
that's a great point. We're going to take a quick break here in about a minute, and we're going to continue this conversation. On the other side of this, what I'm going to talk a little bit about, you just mentioned, Damion, I want to have you touch on it and expand a little bit. And one of the things that's driven me crazy over the years is that still to this day, as much data and knowledge as we have as a society, that for the most part, we still don't have enough financial training for these young students in grammar school, high school, college, to prepare them financially, when we know the data and the stats behind divorces, problems with family, has a lot to do with money because mismanaging, not educated. There's so much around money, but yet, we want to make sure they get that history and science lesson.
Exactly. That's going to be fun.
That's good. All right. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with Damion Lupo, again, financial transformation expert. This is Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live, the podcast series. We'll be back with you in just a minute to continue.
For more information on today's program, visit reradiolive.com. That's reradiolive.com.
Hi, this is Joe Kuchera of Real Estate Radio Live. Thanks for tuning into our podcast. We are your go-to resource for all aspects of real estate, including buying, selling, refinancing, building, and legal and tax advice, and much more. You can subscribe to Real Estate Radio Live podcast on iTunes and Stitcher to listen to an engaging discussion about anything and everything real estate. So make sure you get our app, RE Radio Live, in the iTunes store to follow the show.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's topic or guests, just visit reradiolive.com. That's reradiolive.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Live, Joe Kuchera.
Welcome back in. Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live, the podcast series. As we continue the second part of the show, I'm excited to have our guest on today, Damion Lupo. He is a financial transformation expert. That's right, you heard it. CEO and founder of Total Control Financial. We're having a great conversation about kind of the philosophy of money, finances. I think what I've gotten out of it so far with Damion is he is a big fan, and what he believes in is investing in yourself, educating yourself, really positioning yourself to become the expert, and you will have a lot more confidence in whatever you do. And I'll have to say, Damion, that one of the things I love about what your philosophy is and what you do is, where in my business, my primary business is residential financing, and I started years ago with that premise of educating and informing people. So I never looked at it as a sales as much as if I educate and inform And, my hope was that people would see the value and the trust and to gain that relationship, and they'd want to do business with me. And I brought the same concept kind of to the airways and the podcast. And I'm a big believer in, your concept as well. So it's good to see you're out there doing that.
Yeah, I think I like what you're saying, and to me, it's very there's an authenticity around what you're going into that conversation to bring, and it's not simply a pitch, which is what we're kind of used to. We're used to these pitches, and we're used to maybe we get lucky enough to have some education that sticks. And what really people are craving is a way to transform themselves. They don't come to an advisor or somebody in the money world to just get something other than like they're looking for some way to transform from where they are to where they want to go. It's not just about more money. That money represents some option or some flexibility or some freedom. And that's what they're coming to us for. And if we can really realize that, we can serve people better because we start thinking differently. How am I going to create a transformational event? How am I going to help them rewire themselves? And it really changes the focus on what we're talking about and how we're going to implement whatever it is that we're involved with.
Yeah, well said. The other thing I want to do at this point, too, in the podcast, I always like to, Damion, if the listeners or someone wants to get a hold of you or find out more about what you do, your company, how you could help them, what's the best way for people to reach out and get a hold of you?
Easy. Just go to totalcontrolfinancial.com and you'll be able to learn more. And they can actually get a copy of the book that I wrote on our main product and service that we provide people. So you can get a copy of that book by just going to the website and clicking I want a book, and we'll send it out to you.
Great. Well, the one that I can't wait to talk to about, and I want to make sure we jump in and talk about it now because everybody's, the predictors, the people that are mentioning or suggesting certain times in the market or in finances or whatever. So what about this, the guaranteed crash of 2018? What could you tell us about that?
I can tell you there is a crash, and it is coming, and it's coming in the next 18 months. And the reason I say that, there's a couple of things. One, we know that the interest rates that have driven this market bananas and have pushed out a lot of cash have been dropping for the last 10 years, last 15 years. I mean, it's just been this constant downtick. And what's happened is it gives people a lot more buying power, and there's a lot of money that's flowing into the markets. And when you have a lot of demand because of that money, it pushes things up. It's also artificially giving a lot of these companies that are listed, it's giving them a lot of cash in their earnings that they're using to buy back shares. So that's happening. Their companies are looking stronger, and it's making a lot of people at the top really rich because all of their options that they've been issued are worth a lot more. So they're cashing out, buying their place in Connecticut, in the Hamptons. And here's what is going to happen. We know that the markets are going to respond to the interest rate changes over the next 18 months. We know that they're going to drive up about a point. That 1 point, assuming that it's similar in the opposite, which means as the interest rates were dropping, as the Fed was dropping things over the last 10, 15 years, in terms of the mortgages all got cheaper. Well, it's a natural expectation that the opposite's going to happen too. So when rates go up a point, we're talking about a 25% increase. That 25% increase is going to cause everything to be more expensive when we're talking about borrowing. And so if you look at the typical house that people have been able to buy more, they bought the same house the last 10 years, but that house has gone up because rates have gone down. When the rates go up 25%, it forces the price of housing to drop by about 18% to compensate for the more expensive mortgages. It doesn't matter whether it's 18% or 15%. Anytime you have that kind of push, it stalls the market. And when you have the stock markets simultaneously stopping the buybacks, and you have the baby boomers pulling $1,000 a month out of the markets each, which they're required to because of ERISA, all of that stuff, we're talking a lot of baby boomers. It's the biggest generation. All those things, the confluence of those three things happening at once, which is all happening right now, and it's building up this momentum, there is going to be an event. Something will trigger that, or the natural weight of it will just all of a sudden push something down, and it'll cause a domino effect. That has to happen. It's like saying gravity is no longer relevant. It is relevant. It's still here, and these things cycle. That's happening, and it's a question of when. It doesn't mean we have to be afraid of it. It just means we need to know it's coming and then be prepared for it. Yeah.
No, it's just great. So one of the things that I've studied and thought about and talked to a lot of people about in terms of, we're all well versed in the .com, meltdown and downturn. And then of course we had the mortgage meltdown, which all of us, lived through and understood. And I think a lot of, what I'm continuing to ask experts like yourself and other people is like, so what is, we knew of those things. So if you look in the horizon, and, certainly in our area and different places you have, we're a little bit jaded in where I live because we're in Silicon Valley where, you have the average home is well over $1 million for just a standard home, and you don't have any more areas to build. It's just, it's it. If you want to be here, you have to buy somewhere. There's no anything that's going to be vertical. And then on top of that, you have really the heart of Silicon Valley, venture capital row, all this stuff going on. And you just start looking around and you're thinking, this can't continue. There has to be cycles. You just mentioned it. So are you suggesting that this cycle is going to be kind of triggered, or when you have the interest rates coming up 1% and some of the dynamics could you explain, this could kind of be the next adjustment that we're waiting for or going to probably get?
Yeah, I'm actually excited about it. I mean, to be candid, these market opportunities are biggest when you have downturns and you have anxiety. I'm pissed off that in 2008 I was going through a meltdown, losing $20 million. I didn't have the emotional ability to go out there and make money off the opportunities, but people made billions of dollars because they were ready and they weren't afraid of it. And I think that's what people need to realize. There's an opportunity because this is where things are on sale, and when there's blood in the streets, and I don't want pain, but I know that pain is coming. So when it doesn't mean you're feeding on it, it means you're literally saying, okay, it's happening. I didn't cause this, but I'm going to do something with it. And so there's an opportunity for us to say, what big picture is going to be good for the next 5 or 10 years? And that's where I start thinking about these big demographic trends like the millennials. There's 80 million millennials, and we have an idea of what millennials want. They want the experiences. They want certain things. They want to have certain living spaces. And if you start thinking about how to serve those people, how to solve that problem, you start realizing, I don't really care that the markets are going to collapse because I see a bigger picture. What I realize is the bigger picture that I'm going to create a solution for is going to be cheaper for me to engage with it over the next couple of years when this market corrects, and all of a sudden I can have more opportunity if I'm ready and I have a focus. I think if we start thinking like that, then there's a huge upside to this market cycle, and we don't really care when it happens. We know it's going to happen, and then we just get ready, and then we have a plan and we execute, and that's what we're doing right now. We're learning what we need to do to get ready for that. Yeah,
that's great. I love it. I do. I'm with you there. But that is the one lesson I learned, and I used to be afraid and kind of nervous of these downturns, but I would agree with you 100% now. You don't like to see people get hurt or financially damaged and all that, but if you're really kind of doing the best you can to position yourself for these downturns, that is where the wealth is made in the downturns.
Yeah, and Joe, this is a psychological issue that a lot of times people they get in their own way where they think, oh, that I can't feed on somebody else's thing. Well, you didn't cause it, and
exactly.
If somebody has an event, they over leverage. Like in 2008, there were lots of people that took on mortgages that they were too much for them. They weren't thinking about, okay, let's be smart, let's build a sound foundation. They were thinking about 100% financing, and when they lost a job or something, they had to give the house back. Because you went and bought a foreclosure house or you did something like that, does it make you a bad person? Absolutely not. Somebody is going to do that. That house does not just go away because somebody loses it in a foreclosure. You're just sitting there and being smarter and having a better foundation than they are. They have that choice. Everybody has the choice. And just because somebody made a bad choice doesn't mean you need to join them and wallow with them.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you. We have about 2 minutes left, Damion, and I know that we're going to have you back in the first part of August, so that'll be fun getting some additional information because we have a lot more to talk about. But the last thing I'll question, knowing what we just heard and we've been talking about, what would your suggestion or what would your recommendation be to people listening right now that are thinking, okay, there's a downturn coming, there's obviously going to be a cycle. What is your recommendation for these people to either position themselves, expect, do, reposition? What would your recommendation be for these people?
Well, anytime there's a change in the environment or our lives, there's a reinvention process. And one of the things that I did in 2008 to 2010 is I went through a massive reinvention. People are going to have to reinvent, and they need to figure out how to do that. And they can either make it up or they can leverage and model off other people. I wrote Reinvented Life based on my experience of going through that, and it was a story, and it was also it was tools to figure out how to prepare and how to plan and how to go through that transition. So my suggestion was model my book, model my story, so that you don't have to make it up. It is too damn painful and expensive to make all this stuff up. You want to find people that have gone through it, not academically smart, but actually experientially smart, that they've been through that stuff. And anybody that's done that and documented it is a great source to focus on, not just somebody that's read something and regurgitated it and is telling you, hey, I learned this, you should do this, but somebody that's gone through it.
Very good. Well, Damion, I want to thank you for your time. This has been a great interview, and I can't wait. I don't know the date, but I think we're going to have you back maybe in the next 3 to 4 weeks, the first part of August. And this is actually something we should probably do every quarter or something, just to get your insight, updates on the market and some of the other things going on. I love, and our listeners really have an appetite for education when it comes to finances, money, investing. So more information, you could always go to totalcontrolfinancial.com. Damion, thanks for your time again today. Enjoyed it very much.
Hey, Joe, I had a great time. Looking forward to talking with you guys again, and we'll see you in August.
Okay, take care, and all the best of luck to you, Damion.
Thank you.
All right, that was a great interview. A lot of fun. Damion's obviously, you could tell, educated, but more importantly, passionate about what he does. And I just love the energy and what he brought to the interview, and can't wait to have him back in the next couple of weeks. Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live. Thanks again for tuning in today. Until next time, also be sure to visit reradiolive.com. Take care.
You've been listening to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's program, visit reradiolive.com. That's reradiolive.com. Subscribe to our podcast. Discover more at reradiolive.com.